Hey, it's Chris, Legion Games. Let's do this. So, it's been a while. Let's talk about this for a minute. 5 games, plus one of interest, that are on my wish list that I think deserve to be mentioned because I think they're going to be making waves. I think you're going to hear a lot more about them soon, and I think they all have potential to be pretty amazing games. And so they're going to be at your disposal in the near future. It's just to what extent and how. And let's talk about that because, not to ride the hype train, but a few of these you've heard of, and a few of these you probably haven't. So let's do this because it's worth talking about games, and I like talking about games. So let's just get right into it. Smash the like button, hit a comment, help the algorithm, spread me virally across the internet like the coronavirus. Too soon? Sort of, but maybe not. Okay, let's do this. We're going to ease you into the games. A little bit familiarity never hurts. So we're going to talk about Dune Imperium Rise of Ix. And that's because, Dune Imperium is vastly growing on me and I think is an amazing game and I can see what people see in it now, right? And this expansion is just adding more without adding too much more. 3 new houses, a few new ways of playing in this epic mode, as well as the new technological advances of the planet Ix in the first place. And so I cannot be ecstatic enough about this because from all accounts from the people who have it and have played it, and it's slowly filtering out as people are gradually picking it up, even though it's not widely available, it's also not out of stock completely either. People aren't saying that they want to play without it. People aren't saying that it's too complex in terms of adding to the game in the first place, because part of the appeal to Dune Imperium is that it is straightforward. It plays in an hour-ish, and you can teach it relatively easily, and it's not a turn-off from a worker placement if you're not a worker placement fan like me, which is saying something, because there aren't too many games like that that have that broader appeal. And so if you're going to offer me more of a good thing with less overhead concerns and less IP constraints, I'm okay with that. And that's why it's the first one on this wish list that I eventually, again, as you may have heard me espout, or if you have not and you're newer to the channel, I don't pick up a lot at retail. Now, I'm trying to trade for it, but the other aspect of this, which is a very good sign as well, is not many people have it for trade. That is a very telling sign of the market of an actual gameplay. How good is this, right? Because no matter how good things are, if things aren't that good, you see it ending up on the trade market. I mean, that's sort of like Ark Nova right now on the other aspect. But I'm not going to be putting Ark Nova on this list. That's a whole nother conversation. Not saying I don't want that either. But of games that I can get to the table, this is much higher of that aspect. That's why it's number 1 on the wish list right now. Now, number 2 is going to surprise some of you. It is. It surprised me. And this is going to be a very interesting test because it's already doing something slightly different than I would have expected in the first place. And I think the fact that how it is already labeled is going to be very telling, both on the crowdfunding side of things as well as the retail side of things. Now, why am I talking about it like this? Because as soon as I show you, you'll know. And that is Terraforming Mars, the Ares Expedition Foundations, Discovery, and Crisis expansions. Now, interestingly enough, they are all separate in Board Game Geek. They all have separate images, all separate packages then, right? So when Stronghold Games comes out sometime this month, supposedly, with their Kickstarter for this, again, with the expansions, what is it going to look like? Because all 3 of these are adding different elements. Presumably, if you're going to list them all separately with different pictures that look very much like a front cover box picture, that is the retail side of things as well. But what is the Kickstarter going to look like then? Are we going to have an all-in-one package? Are we going to have 3 separate small little bundles of modular expansions that can fit together or not? Are they just going to be boxes that we end up tossing away and throwing all in the base game already? Because this is a game that has won me over as a person who will likely never own Terraforming Mars and will likely never own Race for the Galaxy. So again, broad mass appeal, the sum is greater than the parts. Now, understandably, you might not need all of these. Foundations, for example, adds the ability to play up to 6 people. It also adds a 4th infrastructure mechanic. And it has a few extras to go along with some of the other things already in the base game. Discovery is adding 4 new mechanics to the game itself: awards, milestones, upgraded phases, and wild tags. Most of those are self-explanatory, right? End game awards award you for bonus conditions at the end of the game. Milestones are going to give you bonuses along the way. You're going to have the ability to upgrade your 1 through 5 phase cards. And then the wild tags are tags that you get to choose when they get played and you can keep track of, that are going to aid you like some of the other tags in the cards already do. Now, the last one, Crisis, is going to add crises that happen along the way that you as a whole, not just you, will have to deal with in order to not have the ability to terraform Mars in the first place. And then it'll eventually put out a card that allows you to win or finish the game successfully once you've navigated, through the deck of crises to some extent. Do you want all 3 of these? Is it going to be an all or nothing? I wouldn't be surprised if the crowdfunding is all or nothing at a slight discount, and the retail then is slightly higher with the ability to pick and choose. Again, though, a month ago, I would have looked at you and told you I thought you were crazy if I thought I'd be actually considering backing this, but color me jaded. I'm there now. So that is why it's the second one on this wish list. The third one is going to be something you may have heard of, you may not have heard of. This is Die Wandeln Türme. I'm mispronouncing that because it's German, for the pedantic commenters out there that don't like me mispronouncing things on a video by video basis. But I'll tell you the English version. It's the Wandering Towers. And the reason I'm so interested in this is because, one, you can't get it yet in the US. It's only not even widely available over in Europe. But this is a Kramer and Kiesling game that is doing something quite unique. Now, you can't tell by this illustration, but I've read through the rules and it has me very intrigued. This is going to be much lighter. The Euro side of gamers are not going to like this at all. But essentially what you're doing is you're moving your wizards, but you're also moving the towers themselves around the outside of this track, or this path, if you will. And what's happening is your wizards can go on these paths or these towers, but the towers themselves are movable as one of the actions on your turn. You can literally take one of the towers and place it on top of another tower that has wizards on it and trap the wizards in there. Not only do you have to deal with that, but you have to remember which element or which level of the tower has your wizard, so that you can get it out to get it successfully to the end, because it's really just in its heart of hearts of a game, a race to the, I think it's the Raven Tower is it's called, I can't remember, something along those lines. But it's light enough, it's easy enough, but it's strategic enough that it just looks like a heck of a lot of fun. It reminds me of a game almost like Nidavellir, which is not the most mechanically different game. It's not the most complex, but it's got the most oomph, or take that. It reminds me a little bit on the other side of things of Broom Service, if you will. It reminds me of that. So if you have that sense of things, this is what I think of when I think of that. And I am really tempted also to pick this one up from Europe if it wouldn't cost me 40 euros for the game and another 40 euros for shipping. I don't know what they're doing for shipping over there, but it's insane. I've tried to get a couple other abstract wooden games from a place over there. Each game is 40 euros, and they're going to cost me another like 50 euros to get the 2 of them shipped. So it's going to cost me like $150 to get 2 wooden abstract small games. And right now I'm having trouble stomaching that. So anyway, this is high on my radar. If this ever gets ported over to the US for distribution purposes, it's going to be high. And I might just pull the trigger one of these days anyway and bite the bullet and see what happens. Now, next up is a one from Rio Grande Games that doesn't really have a whole lot of hype, doesn't really have a whole lot of mention, but it's going to be a very intriguing game to see what comes of it as it gets its retail release. I'm assuming sometime in the next month or two. There really haven't been a whole lot of details, and this is Space Station Phoenix. What's really intriguing about this one, you start out with your own fleet. You start out with the best engine possible that you can, given the combination of management and resources that you have in the first place, and then you're slowly degrading it as you go, in a sense. Now you become more efficient, but your options become much more limited as you're essentially using your spaceships to build the space station along the way, dismantling them to your own benefit, but also hindering you at the same time. Sort of a reverse engine builder, if you will, with a worker placement resource management aspect. Again, this one is available for pre-order, but I have not seen an actual retail release date yet. Now, obviously, you have a wee bit of iconography here, and there is no rulebook at the time of filming this on Rio Grande's website, as they say there was a slight quote-unquote hiccup in production, and so we're going to have to wait and see what the true depth and complexity of this game is, but I'd be lying to you if I said that I didn't like what I was seeing, because I kind of do, because reverse engine builder? Interesting. I'm willing to tolerate the worker placement aspect of things if this can pan out to, show me how it really plays. So again, I'm willing to give it a shot to see what it looks like when it comes out, and I'm going to have my eyes very closely peeled to this one. Last up is Garden Nation. Now, we are going across the board here in terms of games and in terms of everything under the sun. This is actually available overseas in Europe right now, limited availability from Bombix, as a French edition. And I would have picked it up already, but there are unfortunately just a little bit too much wording. It's not completely language independent. Now, what are you doing though? And that's why it's so intriguing. The rule book in English is actually already up on Board Game Geek. It's been there for about 5 months. And in this game, there are 12 tiles that you're going to be arranged in a somewhat modular setup, and each of these 7 center tiles can also have 7 different areas within them that you are going to be building and even conquering and moving around levels of towers as you try to control those areas. Did I mention secret missions of what you're trying to build in the first place? Variable number of floors that you have to build depending on the number of players in the game? Intrigued yet? The other interesting aspect of this game, as I've heard in some of the comments, both French and English, is that it is extremely tactical. Extremely. So much so that you are probably not going to be able to plan your turn out in advance to a significant degree. One of those aspects here, I'll scroll up so my face isn't covering it, is this. So if you take your action in the center area of this tile here, then the next action has to be played in the center area of the 7 tiles, and so on and so forth, which is again very interesting in terms of planning. So you don't even know what territory or area you're going to be playing in until the person before you goes. You're going to be dealing with territory area control as well as population management, and the actions that you're going to be taking, like I mentioned, building one of your floors in one of the areas that's empty, constructing on another building that's already there, or even abandoning a building that's out there in the first place. You can see common objectives as well as secret objectives up here that have to be met in order to win the game. There's also things called ploy tokens that you're going to be limited in use of for the whole game. And then you can also roof transfer as, well, something else to do in order to help you control things. So again, lots of moving parts, but it looks like it could actually be very smooth when played. And that's why I am very interested in it. And if there was just less elements of language dependence, I would probably already have a copy in my collection as we speak. But that's why it's number 5. This is your bonus one that's coming up to Kickstarter sometime in the near future, but there's no announced date yet. And this is for the folks that like it when I talk about the Japanese games. And this is a game called Basa. And you have 2 dice that you are going to be rolling at the beginning of the game, one with white pips and one with black pips. And the extension of the game goes out from that die depending on what you roll. And then you have tiles that also are very similar. And you have to use these tiles in the color of pips that they are rather than the total pips. As you can see, this 6, for example, has 2 black and 4 white. So you use it as either 4 white or 2 black. You've got special abilities that are going to allow you to manipulate them. And you are just going to be trying to play all of your tiles. That's all I have because the rules aren't out there. But there is a Kickstarter pre-launch page that's up already. And you can join me and 101 other people that are following it, because I'm super intrigued, and it's a 2-player, very tactical, straightforward, elegant Japanese game, and I do love me some of those. So this is going to be hard for me to pass, and I just wanted to, pay it forward in case you were interested as well. Link below in the details. There you go. 5 plus 1 that I thought should be on your radar if they are not already on your radar, because everybody knows about Ark Nova. Everybody knows about Dwellings of Elderville. Everybody knows about Sleeping Gods standalone expansion Distant Skies now. But let's talk about ones that are going to be making potential waves in the next couple months, as well as just one or two others that you may have completely missed about that you should maybe be interested in as well. There you go. What else am I missing? As always, let me know in the comments. Shoot me an email. I'm always happy to look at unexplored gems. Dark horses, if you will. I love them. Some of the best stuff I've played. That's why I was shouting the Loop and Nita Valier from the rooftops before other people. Just saying. As always, thanks for watching. Have a great day. Stay classy. I'll see you around. Right? Right, I better. We just got Peacock, the streaming service. Kid finally did it after we canceled Paramount, after my wife canceled it. So watched a little Chelsea versus Newcastle this afternoon. Kid wearing his Chelsea jersey. Not bandwagoning. It's just the one that had a solid pattern with the least amount of, obtrusive or just frankly unappealing, logos all over the place. So that's really why I went with it. So don't hate me too much right now. We're just getting into things. See you around.